What's up, everybody? Welcome to Valleytown episode 99 on ChanManV. And he's Noxious, and we've got a Phillies fan over here, brand new to the show. Tyler, what's happening?
What's up? Yeah, I have a confession though. I'm not really a Phillies fan. I just bought the hat because I like the color.
Oh man, you're like those Yankees fans that just wear the Yankees cast for the just because
Yeah,
it's cool to
Just
wear them.
cause.
just because. Yeah,
Just because of the color. There's got to be a lot of caps that are that color, right?
yeah, sure. But I happened to stumble across this one. So
Okay. All right. Well, do you live in Philadelphia or no?
I live in Europe, the Netherlands.
Oh yeah, that's right. What am I talking about?
So it makes no sense, right?
So you're basically in
That's
an
even
airport.
better.
You're basically in an airport when you bought that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, everybody, pretty awesome show we've got planned. At least a ton of stuff to talk about, given this is the first one since the expansion has come out. So this is always the most exciting time to talk about new decks. You know, we've been spending weeks talking about new cards. Now it's time to talk about the decks that we put together. So we'll definitely be doing that. Talking about the meta that's establishing, a couple events, Batstone. And also Twitch Plays Hearthstone was pretty fun yesterday. I figured we'd touch on that to start off the show. And then we're going to do Mekkatorque Workshop, just a quick one, a few cards. I came up with one, a patron came up with a couple, and then end things off with Q&A. If you guys want to participate in Q&A, go ahead and email your questions to valuetown@chanmanv.tv. We've actually got quite a few emails, so we're just going to be doing emails, and I don't know, maybe just from here on out we're just going to start doing emails because people have been really liking that and emailing questions during the week, so definitely kudos to that. Kudos to them for doing that. Okay, well, going to start things off. Tyler, having you on here, our week in Hearthstone. This is the segment that we just talk about what we've been doing just from the standpoint of Hearthstone and the community or whatnot. And we were just talking before the show, and you're telling me been watching Batstone too, which is going on right now, by the way. So if you want to watch some play on the side while listening to us, you can do that too. But yeah, so have you been watching Batstone a bunch?
I've been watching it. I've not watched everything. I've been trying to catch as much as I can, but yeah, generally I've been streaming myself as well, so it's hard to watch everything.
Yeah, of
It
course.
is, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I haven't had much time to consume content either because of that. So the whole Bastion thing, other people's card reviews, other people's decks and everything. I haven't really had time to watch much of that.
Well, I think it's actually good not to. Like, it's good not to look at other people's rank 1 NA, decks, because it just doesn't influence you, or at least in the very beginning. It's good to just discover stuff yourself. At least that's how I feel. And then once you get stuck, you get to a point where it's like, oh shoot, I don't know what else to do. Then kind of see what other people are doing, and then it's kind of cool. But right now, whenever you get to just really experience everything for the first time, this is the best, man. And I try to preserve that as much as I can, if it's possible.
Yeah.
But with Batstone, what's interesting is they ended up banning patches, right? So that was interesting. Yeah, basically I think the rules or just limits that they put on deck building are no patches, and you have to have at least 10 Mean Streets of Gadgetzan cards in your decks.
Okay, holy
Yeah.
crap! I see.
Yeah. So
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's why we're seeing some interesting
It's
things.
all jade golems everywhere, right? That's what it is.
Definitely some druids just mixed with like Malagas or just
Sure. Yeah.
But
Makes sense.
yeah. So seeing that, some Reno decks. Reno's got plenty of new cards in them.
Yeah.
I haven't
mean,
seen
the,
too. Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
the funny thing is, with the new decks that have been going around, the new strongest decks, they already are including 6 to 8 of the new
Yeah,
cards.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's no
baseline,
problems, right? Adding 10 cards. That's like easy. So yeah, I mean, watching some of the decks has been actually pretty cool to see. And some folks, I mean, Frozen's adding the freaking Hog Riders and stuff. Man, he had 6/6 to like all of his decks. So I'm just like, okay, all right. I thought might be a meme thing, but it's actually
the hand
serious.
size thing. Yeah, I mean, if Reno
Yeah.
lock is a thing and Reno decks in general are a thing,
Yeah.
that's always triggering.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Pretty much all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've noticed. It's been cool. I haven't seen too many grimy goon decks though, so that I don't know.
They're
That-
really good when they curve. I mean, like really, really,
Yeah, they
really
are.
good when they curve. But just like I expected, one of the big drawbacks of most of the cards is like they're a bit too expensive. So Smuggler's Crate is great in Paladin, like the 1-mana card, the Dispel, buffs your stuff in your hand. Not the Crate, sorry, Smuggler's Run in Paladin. And the Grime Street Outfitter, right? Those two are the cheapest, and they buff your entire hand, and they don't require much of an investment. Whereas, if you want to go to the 5-drop that does the same thing, then it's only buffing, once usually. So you're paying 5 mana for the same effect as the Run and the Outfitter. So that's probably the reason why you haven't seen much of it. But the decks that are good, that include the Runner, like the Run and the Outfitter, I feel like they've been doing very well. Like the more aggressive Paladins, or draw a bunch of 1/1s, buff everything, vomit them. That's been doing pretty good.
I mean, I think the biggest issue with those decks, because I played some of them too. I played the Murloc one too, and the issue with me is it's just board clear. I just think all these Reno locks and basically all the Cabal classes have such good board clear that you wipe the board once, it sets you back quite a bit. You wipe the board twice, it's game over, right? And I've just been seeing that. Either I kill them in the first 6 turns, like kind of like Warrior and Shaman, but instead with Goon cards. But either that happens, or I just I end up running out of steam and don't draw Divine Favor, just die kind of thing, and it sucks. But I wish it was a lot stronger. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Goon decks right now, Tyler?
I don't know. We're talking about the Paladin one, right?
Yeah, just the Paladin, just all the buffing stuff.
I think people haven't explored it enough. I think there's definitely some kind of viable build possible that's really strong.
Yeah.
I haven't faced it too many times, but a few times that I faced it, I definitely saw potential. Like, you can snowball so quickly when you get the right buffs, and then
it's like you said, Noxious. Like if you curve great, it's very, very hard to beat. And
it's almost unbeatable.
Yeah,
like it's like imagine Jade Idol Druid starting on turn 3. Like if they start getting 3/3s and 4/4s on 3 in Jade Idol, you're screwed. You lost. Like in Jade Golem, that is.
Yeah.
And Grimy Goons, just if they curve well, they by default have everything that's like a 5/5 Aldor on turn 3, and then they go like a 6/6 on turn 4, and it just gets stupider and stupider.
Yeah.
The problem is like they need to have like Smuggler's Run with a decent hand with Grime Street Outfitter into a playable. So a lot of the approaches have were Divine Shield based, right? Like you saw people try to play a Horse Rider, even Silent Knight, Ardent Squire, just try to make sure that buff not only applies once in one attack, but twice because of Divine Shield. So like that buff gets exponentially stronger when you have something like Divine Shield slapped onto it.
Right.
I think I lost it like twice yesterday, and I was asking Twitch chat, did this guy just nut draw me, or is the deck just good? And I honestly don't know, because it felt like it can draw like that pretty consistently if you build that right. So
yeah. The problem is you have 4 cards that do that effect, right? You really only have 4 with the Run and the Outfitter. So you need to get at least one of those in the opening hand. That's very likely, right? Like you're gonna find one of them. But oftentimes for the deck to really be good, you need 2. And that's the problem. You can get 1 consistently, but that's not good enough. You need 2 to really push the deck to the point where it's literally just Jade Golem you down, like in terms of power level, right at the early onset of turn 3. But if they only get 1, then yeah.
And not just that, you can't skip a turn. Like you can't have an off turn where you hero power, or else you literally have lost, because you need that snowball. And I even did the Outfitter and the is it the Crate that's the one? What's the one drop that just
Smuggler's Run?
Smuggler's Run, yeah. Smuggler's Run and the Outfitter. I added those to even just Dragon Paladin, just to see Yeah, and when it curves well, it's literally unstoppable. But if you miss a turn, you're just done. Like that was the most obvious to me. That deck was just like, oh, this is amazing when it works, but man, when it doesn't work, I just miss one turn, I lose to like Jade decks or much less the super fast stuff. The super fast stuff is tough, yeah. So it's pretty interesting. But I think the biggest thing, though, at least with the meta, because we're kind of talking about meta right now in Batstone, is obviously the pirate decks, right? The pirate decks have just been the talk of the community. I think it's by far the most popular decks, and we've seen it start off with Warrior, right? With the arms, pirate, Warrior, just everything to the face. And now it's transition to our good old Cancer Shaman, which it always comes back, man, to Shaman.
It's just insane. I love talking about this bit because it's so much. the deck is so much cancer. It's basically the pirate package, and it fits in every class that has weapons because it's even put into. It's
Yeah,
even a staple in Rogue right now. All the current Rogue builds
it's true.
have the pirate package, which is
Yeah.
patches, the Buccaneer, and South Sea Deckhand.
Yeah,
Five pirates.
let's definitely take a look at these decks while we're talking about it. And I've got the left one, the Shaman, and that's actually Spo's deck, and then the right one is Scintillol. Yeah, Scintillol. I always just call him Scint. And that's his warrior deck on the right. And I think the most popular deck, like in all levels of Hearthstone right now, is probably the right one. And this is the warrior.
I don't know if it's still as popular, but it was on like the first 4 days, 100%. Like that's.
I think it still is at lower ranks. I think the warrior is still the most. The shaman one is now starting to take over at the top ranks and moving itself down. But the warrior one that we're talking about, guys, is the one that if you play Hearthstone, there's no way in hell that you haven't seen it. It's just the one with all the weapons, the early pirates, just that turn one that throws down 3 things. I mean, I think we've all experienced that very, very often with Patches and Small Time Buccaneer and either South Sea or it's Nzoth's first mate, right?
Now usually you have Lowly Squire on one end, and then you have Buccaneer. Like that's the thing. Small Time Buccaneer makes weapon classes so powerful.
Small Time Buccaneer, yeah. I mean, Lonely Squire, yeah. Small Time Buccaneer is way better than Lonely Squire in my opinion. At least
But for Rogue, you considered Lowly Squire in your tempo decks or if you're aggro decks, because it was like, okay, I can get a 2/2 on turn 2, and I'm often just daggering anyway. But now you have a 3/2 on turn 2, and it brings out a Patches. It's like, okay, I have a 1/1 that I can ping with, trade with my dagger, and I have a 3/2 leftover. God damn it, this is so sick.
And if you don't have an answer, that guy does like 9 damage to you, dude. It's like that early flame imp that just fucks you up because you can't do anything about it. Wait, why do you think it's so strong, Tyler? Just, I mean, these decks that we're talking, or at least this warrior deck, is probably the fastest deck we've ever seen in Hearthstone. Especially from the standpoint of like linear and fast. This is easily the fastest. The shaman one's slower, but the shaman one's more resilient. It has like crazy burst, speed, and resilience. That's why it makes it so strong right now. But
the shaman one is actually really fast, arguably even faster than the warrior one, because the shaman one beats the warrior one easily.
Yep, that's true.
Like by 4. So
I think it comes down to Jade Claws, right?
Jade Claws, yeah. Like you have Jade Claws and Spirit Claw, and then you have so many 1-drops, so you never miss a curve. And I've tried to explain it on stream earlier, but the reason why I think it's so strong is because you curve out perfectly into 4 mana 7/7.
Yep, it's the 7/7.
You never miss a single mana with this list. Like you play your curve 1, 2, 3, and then 4 7/7 comes on board, and they already had trouble dealing with Patches and Small Time Buccaneer and all your other 1-drops. Yeah. And then you just drop a 7/7 and you win the game.
It's kind of what's interesting to me is because like the metagame is not able right now to like Control Warrior is kind of pushed out by for many reasons. And like this kind of fast start where you could usually answer it with like Whirlwind Revenges, that's been taken over by Patron Warrior, right? Patron Warrior's seen a resurgence in many levels because it answers these types of decks quite okay. Like it has the weapons early game, it can still play a lot of removal, and it can smash in a Patron board against some of the smaller minions. But like the overlord of this entire meta is like Reno Lock, keeping everybody in check, aside from the shaman maybe bursting you in the face sometimes before you're able to stabilize. And that's just the nature of, Lava Burst, Jade Lightning, Lightning Bolt, that can happen. But otherwise, Reno Lock is keeping so much in check right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's kind of it's weird because I thought it was, I felt like it was Shaman keeping Reno Lock in check too. It's a weird dynamic between the two because what beats Reno Lock right now if it's
nothing? Well, Jade Druid,
pure speed.
Some people say Jade Druid loses to it.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I mean, there might be a hybrid version of the old, like the Druid from last release mixed with Jade that...
You cycle, with Gadgetzan. If you play the cycle list, you pretty much never lose, but you have to play the cycle list, the spell-based...
And you have to survive a combo, too, with, those Leroy Faceless combos, too. So it's interesting. Those of you wondering what the Shaman deck is, it's basically... from a standpoint of pirate, it's a mixture of pirates and all the, it's like a mixture of pirates, Jade, and Overload cards. So early game, you've got the pirates like Patches and South Sea Deckhand, Small Time Buccaneer. And then from the standpoint of Overload, you got your typical OP cards, Tunnel Trog and Totem Golem mixed with the Jade Claws, and Feral Spirit and 7/7, Flame Wreath. And then you've got some Jade Claws, or just Jade cards mixed in there with the Lightning, Jade Lightning, which can go to the face, as well as Aya Blackpaw just for some quick value if you need to fill the board again. And a combination of that, guys, is like an extremely consistent storm. It's, you might clear the first part, you might be able to get that first heal out and survive those initial pirates. But then you got to face like the onslaught of, Trog, Feral Spirit into Flame Wreath, and you're just like, fuck.
You can do a little bit of like answering, but then eventually it just does like the old mid-range shaman or the old aggro mid-range before it started shifting towards the like heavy mid-range style, where it's just like, okay, I got curved, now what? And Jade Claws really, really helped solidify that early game of theirs, because suddenly they get a free ping. You know how Patches gives you a free 1/1, like a free resource for no cost?
Yep.
This is kind of their Patches, and they get like 2 of them in the deck. And they always have a 1-drop anyway, and they also get Patches on top of it. So they just have like 1/1s coming out of nowhere, Flame Tongues to use with them. Even Patches in your hand isn't a problem, because you can at least Stone Tusk board with him with a Flame Tongue next to it. It just does so much. Like, this list has everything board control wise. Like, it's insane.
And Flame Tongue is actually key there, because you have so much synergy with Flame Tongue. Patches is synergy. South Sea Deckhand works great with Flame Tongue, and it makes it that every single card just does so much. It has so much value that you just get overwhelmed every single time.
Yeah, and speaking of Tyler, what rank have you gotten in all the regions with these decks?
I just hit rank 1 legend on EU like 2 hours ago before we started the show.
Nice.
And then top 10 on NA and top 10 on Asia, just with this list.
Just
in 1 day of playing.
Damn. Yeah. I think that's a pretty good power there, and like he was saying too, the Shaman one beats the Warrior one pretty easily, just because it's got Taunt, it's got Portal, it's got everything you need to basically beat a lot of those weaker minions too. So definitely check it out.
I have a question. Like, do you think if Reno Lock becomes the overlord of the metagame, like Hunter feels really weak against everything, but maybe it's okay against Reno Lock? Like, does it even have a way to become, because there's always a point in the old metagame where Hunter would come out to answer Warlock, right? Like, Hunter was always there to say, you know what, you're Warlock, life tapping, let me come out here and punch you in the face hard enough that you just can't stop it. And that's still doable. Like, you can still go hyper aggro Hunter and nail it, because you don't get punished by oozes as much. You can still play minions and flood damage to the enemy's face, but the issue is you lose to everything else right now, like literally everything else.
I don't think Hunter is the answer either, right? I mean,
like, it would have to do the job better than the Shaman does right now.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And it would have to do it much better, because it will lose to everything else, whereas the Shaman would not lose to everything else.
For tournament play.
For
tournament play is that's where I'm mostly looking at it, because for ladder, no. I think for ladder, if there's a Hunter deck that's good on the mid-range side with, maybe Smuggler's Crate, I still think that card's got some potential and should be explored a bit. For tournament play, I think Hunter might be a pick. It's just like the power level of decks right now seems to exceed that of Hunter so much.
Actually, we should bring up the Reno Lock. I didn't actually have that one. Anybody have a link to the Reno Lock? We should talk about that. That's obviously a huge part of the meta right now, given we just have people just constantly rank 1 with Reno Lock.
There's a new list every day that's like 2 or 3 cards difference of the Reno Lock of someone getting rank 1 legend.
Yeah, what do you guys think of outvaluing a Reno Lock? Like going, just a heavier control deck that beats Reno Lock?
I mean, I've seen Reno OTK Priest do it, but it's one of those weird things where you have to have a very diluted list to beat Reno Lock specifically. I mean, you could just find better combo decks for that. Malagos Druid is probably going to come back. Like, that's just natural.
If the Reno runs Jiraxis, then you're never gonna be able to pull off that plan.
Dirty Rat, baby.
That's right, Dirty Rat.
You got Dirty Rat. Like, I think that card is, we talked about it on Value Town a while back, right? And Zalea wasn't too keen on it. We weren't too sure. I liked the general idea and the disruption effect of it, but we didn't know if it would see play, because we didn't know if the metagame would be slow enough that we'd like to give our opponents something on the board that we can answer right away. Because if it just got, if Zoo had stuff in their hand and you gave them a free Doom Guard, yeah, that's pretty bad. But if you can target control decks with that, that is so disruptive. And that card has the potential to be like not Yoggster on level, annoying, but it's just really tilting, right? Like the best Dirty Rat in a control mirror kind of determines who gets screwed because they lose a win condition. Like it's really, really polarizing.
It's by far, I would say, it's personally not my favorite card, but it's my favorite card from the standpoint of just objective design, like added to this game. I think the Dirty Rat card, it functions like in many different ways. It can function. It's a great card actually to have against the warrior, by the way.
Aggro, yeah. Hyper aggro, it's good against.
Yeah, and I mean it pulls out some of their cards, when they're not ready for it. I mean, very few of them actually when it comes to the aggro warrior, but it is a 2/6 taunt, so they crash at least one minion plus a weapon, or sometimes it's like a few minions, right? So it functions well that way. But the biggest thing for me is that it allows for playmaking in Hearthstone. And I feel like we're missing that. I've been harping on that for a while now, is that we're missing playmaking cards that are exciting to watch, that isn't RNG. I mean, it is RNG to an extent, but you're affecting your opponent, like you're disrupting your opponent in a big way. And your opponent doesn't feel cheated when that happens too. You know what I mean? Like I think it's a different kind of feeling. And given that the set is so Battlecry heavy, that the rat is so perfectly designed and used as a countermeasure, and we've seen it already, right? We've seen Brand Dirty Rat into mind control techs and just freaking amazing, fun as shit like scenarios with Reno Lock and whatever Reno deck, pretty much with that.
Yeah, Reno deck just all run the package at this stage.
Yeah, and then Dirty Rat screws up Jiraxxus. It screws up, Reno. It screws. I mean, it's so disruptive, and it's beautiful card. Like I really like
that's
that
what
card.
I kind of hate about it, is that if it comes out to like a Reno mirror match, like I kill your Kazakus with Dirty Rat, you are screwed, my friend. Like Kazakus is out, you're fucked. GG. Like let's move on. I kill your Reno, well now suddenly like it's not as bad as in a control mirror, but sometimes they'll just give me the edge in the long game. I get to take your Jiraxxus. Like there's so many cards that matter.
Yeah, easily Dirty Rat and Kazakus for me so far have been the most either impactful, or I mean Kazakus for me personally has probably been the best card. Like because I just it's literally like the most important card in those decks, like for sure. And branding it too is like super important. That sheep effect is, I mean, it literally beats everything. It beats.
You think
Druid.
Devolve is good?
Devolve. Well, yeah, you think Devolve is good until you can turn everything into a 1/1 sheep, and damn, those sheep are kind of cute with suspenders and shit. But but no, you can basically beat Jade decks, you can beat Nzoth decks, you can beat whatever decks as long as you get that effect. But I've whiffed on it before, and it's just like it really sucks when you whiff on it. But yeah, Kazak is definitely living up to expectations for sure. It's crazy.
I would even dare to say it's even more insane than Reno.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah, I think by far it's the most powerful singleton deck. Actually, let's look at this Reno deck. This is I think this is the one that Ray had whenever he got to it. We can take a look at it. So it's got a lot of the classic Reno cards. Just one of. I think let's just talk about the new ones. So Dirty Rat, Blast Crystal Potion.
Mistress of Mixtures.
Is it in?
I've cut her out of my Reno Mage. I've cut her out of my Reno Mage and my Reno Priest, but in Reno Lock, she's still fine because you're live tapping every time, no matter what. So it's still okay there. I'd like to just harp on the fact that Ink Master Solia is so bad. Like I've tried to make Reno Mage, and every time I'm looking to cut something at the very end of the day, I'm like, this is the one card in my deck that seems like it's a fit, but it's just not right. For this Reno
you
Mage
just can't afford to, and you can't afford to lose health as a mage. It's really weird. There's not a lot of choices too for spells that make it really enticing.
Potion is the only one
that's about the best one. Mind. That and Portal. Those are probably the two best choices, but it hasn't made as big a difference. I totally agree. But some of the other cards in this deck are also Abyssal Enforcer. It's a huge removal card that this deck needs. Second Rate Bruiser. What else here? It's interesting.
I mean, it's the typical Reno
Yeah,
list.
that's pretty much it. It's not that
The
many
thing is, like,
cards.
you need to
added.
understand that Kazakus brought back Reno because it gave them like a win. Like the fact that Fellfire Potion is a thing, Abyssal Enforcer is a thing. You can play Fellfire, like you don't even have to play the card. I don't know if every deck runs it because it's like still kind of risky against a certain portion of the meta, and you have enough AOE and Reno lock not to need it. If you're running the Dirty Rat package, it's a bit harder to fit. So it's really a matter of like where you want to put the priorities. And if you're running like Abyssal Enforcer plus Hellfire plus Shadow Flame plus the Dirty Rat MC Tech plus Twisting Nether, I mean Demon Wrath, like you're set on AoE. And Reno Lock just has everything right now. Like it got some new tools to toy around with, and it can always go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like it's really good.
What do you think the weakness is, Tyler, for this deck?
It's hard to
I don't even
play.
know.
It's really hard to play.
The mirror match, that's the only one that really beats it. And yeah, it's really hard to play. The skill cap is insanely high, and I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah,
It's been a while since we had decks that had this high of a skill cap.
Yeah, and a lot of the skill that's involved in playing it has more to do with macro at times. You know, like you don't have to play something this one turn, you know, because you have such great removal. You just have to let them commit to the board, and then, you know, if you're playing somebody good, they won't commit to the board. So you have this kind of chicken game, and you know, the more time they give you, the better it is. It's a really cool cat and mouse type of thing that happens with this deck. And the way you're probably supposed to go is just go all in against the Reno Lock and hope that he just doesn't have answers. Because the longer you wait, that's when Bran right now is crazy strong. There's so many powerful battle cries, like whether it's Jade cards or it's Kazakus or, you know, we just talked about Dirty Rat in Mind Control. It's like shining right now. I can't have a deck without Bran. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But loving it though. It's definitely really, really fun to have, you know, getting double 6/6s or giving double, you know, like I don't know, 5/5 a 6/6 or whatever it is from Aya and even the Jade Spirit or whatnot. So good. So what do you know, we're talking about Reno Lock here, right? Actually, why don't we go in and talk about some of the other decks that we've been playing with this week? And all right, so I just showed the aggros. Okay, why don't we talk about Shaman? Because so I've been playing Evolved Shaman, and actually I've been playing Nzoth too. But my Evolved Shaman's right here on the left, and then Noxious's Nzoth Shaman is here on the right, which is the control Nzoth Shaman. Played both actually. They have some principles that are very, very similar, but I've enjoyed the Evolved Shaman, dude. I think the Evolved Shaman is, I mean, definitely you can get to legend with it. And I think we've seen somebody get to legend. I forget who exactly it was, but maybe it was the Rat, maybe that got to it. Definitely you can get to it. I mean, I didn't look at his list, so this is my own list. And it's kind of a mixture. It's got a little bit of the Overload, a little bit, a lot of the Jade. And then it has just the evolved combos with Doppelganger and Big Time Racketeer and even to some extent Jade Chieftain. And I used to have a Barnes instead of Bloodlust, just as another like crazy Doppelganger Barnes evolve, you know, crazy just dream plays. But it turns out I didn't need it, and Bloodlust seemed to be a really good addition since I always had board control. And then if you just do the combo, you have board control after that, and then you just Bloodlust and finish. But yeah, evolved Doppelganger, dude, 6 mana for 17 mana value, dude, every single time.
Yep.
And you can do it twice. There's nothing else that people can play that actually keeps up with that. So if you're
how much mana are the doppelgangers?
They're 5 each.
They're all 5 mana.
Yeah, you
five,
get 3 6s, dude, and you can do it
I didn't
twice.
even realize that.
Yeah. So whenever you make that play, if you're even in tempo, you just gain tempo. No matter if it's Jade or what you're playing against, you just gain tempo. Hopefully they don't have like all the removal. You probably bait removal with your first one, and then your second one is where you just kill. And it's crazy, you know, like sometimes you get the 2 3s, sometimes you get the 1 1s, but most of the time you get like 5 5s and, you know, 5 6s and stuff like that. And it's been surprisingly powerful. I thought it was actually just more meme when I was playing it, but then I'm like, holy shit, like Brand Doppel Evolve, I mean, I just freaking win games, and like with, you know, possible Bloodlust or no Bloodlust. I don't know, you guys played Evolve at all?
I haven't played it at all, but the one card that caught my mind is caught my eyes is Bloodlust. That's so needed right now if you play a
Yeah.
list like this,
Yeah.
because you're never gonna beat luck if you
Yeah.
don't run Bloodlust.
Yeah. You need some kind of burst, right? Just to take them down.
So important.
Yeah. And you can just get your
I like the
typical.
list. I'm actually gonna try it. I didn't even realize that the double gangers were
Oh, they're all fives. Yeah, they're
5
really good
mana.
for that.
Yeah, they made specific cards to really synergize with Evolve. That and the Racketeer. It's a 1/1 and a 6/6, and they're both sixes, right? But that, that's 7 mana, and you get just about double value. With Doppelganger, you actually get close to triple value, and that's, I don't think there's another play that gets you equal to like a triple mana value play like that in Hearthstone, much less just in this release. So that play, I think, is underrated right now. It's super strong in the mid game, and it can swing games. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody comes up with it. But right now with the Shaman being so strong, it's like nobody will ever play this deck in tournaments because it's a single class type of format right now in Hearthstone.
Yeah, exactly.
It sucks, man. Totally sucks. And speaking of which, another Shaman. Like, talk to us about Nzoth Shaman, Noxious.
So this is a deck that I went with the Alt F4 Shaman Shell, which is just you play, Justicar, Trueheart, Harrison Jones, Elise, Starseeker, and a bunch of control tools.
Yeah.
It's Control Shaman. The AP drop, I think, started popularizing like a few months ago. And it's supposed to be a Shaman list without a win condition. We saw Ties of Time playing a Nzoth Shaman that was kind of like this a long time ago at this point. And I figured, well, if it ran Nzoth and those cards are still available, all we have to do now is, cut out Stormcrack, for instance, include Jade Lightning, that can sub out in the mid game if you have something that has 4 health to kill. Although nowadays you probably want Stormcrack back in. And I'm running Jade Claws, which gives me a lot of early game removal. The initial list only had 1 Spirit Claws, and now we have the ability to have minions on board throughout the game. So now we have a justification for Blackpaw and Jade Lightning and Jade Claws. So you have the Jade package, which always makes sense. Like, you don't have to play the Jade Chieftains necessarily, but in this deck they kind of work.
They're good.
You have
They're
the
actually
Nzoth,
pretty important.
portion working with Karen, Sylvanas, White Eyes, which again also makes quite a bit of sense. Now, I don't think Karen is necessary. I think maybe a Genie Water Speaker would be better fit, or Stormcrack on top of what we've got. But the hand can get a bit clogged sometimes with like really situational removal or heals you don't need, which is the big weakness of this type of deck. Which is why the Jade Golem portion really helped solidify what I think it was meant to do at first.
Yeah, Tyler, what do you think?
What does this beat like in the current meta?
Yeah, it works. Right now, this is just...
Oh, what does it beat? He's asking.
What does it beat right now? It beats Aggro Warrior, Aggro Shaman pretty much all day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You just don't get killed by the aggro decks. I mean, the Reno decks are always a problem. Sometimes you can blow them out with Jade or well-timed Nzoth because they don't know what you're running right now. So obviously you have an edge on that front, which helps. The only problem, of course, is going to be like OTKs coming out of nowhere. Otherwise, like aggro decks, I built this to counter Aggro Warrior and Aggro Shaman because I was encountering them nonstop, and I'm like, all right, let's just shut that stuff down and climb through the ranks.
You have a like, so I've played a lot of this too, and it's pretty similar. It's there's definitely like maybe three cards or they're a little bit different, or 4 cards are a little bit different, but I mean, you can beat Jade decks too. There's definitely a window where you have that you can, if you can get that value in, if you can get your Nzoth out, or even just get a Storm Guardian out, from White Eyes.
Sylvanas even.
Yeah, even Sylvanas. Then you can you have like 2 turns where you can win. Then after that, you just lose because they have bigger shit than you. But this deck is actually really challenging to play. Like when I play it, especially against the control decks, I mean, you don't have that many Death Rattle minions, so it's like something gets entombed or something gets sheeped or whatnot.
Priest,
it's like fuck.
I hate my life.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's tough. It's like you really have to play super carefully and value your death rattle, and you figure out a priority list for your death rattles. And for me, White Eyes went quickly to the top for me. Like I didn't actually realize
in
that.
This deck,
like it was actually one of the lowest ones, and I was like, holy shit, Storm Guardian is so important to my deck that I started playing it, and I started playing Ancestral Spirit just to get more value from some of the death rattles whenever I had it. Just so Nzoth to be just a little bit stronger. And yeah, White Eyes became so important. In fact, I think like I don't play Karen though. I think
I think I
Sylvanas
don't
is
think he's good fit.
throwaway.
Karen is not worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd advise to anyone who's looking at this list, like visually, just cut Karen out, find like a Stormcrack, find room for maybe, I don't know, like I wouldn't go as far as like a Jade Spirit, but Genie Water Speaker is, definitely a good inclusion. Another card draw engine. I mean, we're running 2 knowledge. You can even cut one of those and play a Drake mid game. Like that's not even bad.
Yeah,
There's so
that's
much
not bad
you can
too.
find room for.
Yeah, it's the one great thing about Shaman is the removal. The removal is still one of the strongest in the game. The elemental destruction is like there's not much that dies. It's only a late game druid that survives that. So mid range
Priest.
Yeah. Well, Dragon Priest you can wipe Dragon Priest. I beat tons of Dragon Priests.
Sort
with
of.
this deck.
I mean, kind of, but not really. Like, you really need to have them curve off one turn, right? If they miss a drop, you're fine. If they curve all the way through, God help you. God save your soul.
But if you mulligan for elemental destruction, you can just reset them once.
No, but they get a 3/6 on 4, and then they keep curving like a 5/6, and it keeps going up and up and up and up, and it's a never. I mean, honestly, I give them so much good discovery from Draconid Operative to clean up my own Jade Golem shenanigans. Dude. They just flip it. They just eventually flip it upside down. Like I'm ahead, and then Entomb White Eyes, Entomb Sylve, rip me. Like I start over. But
dude, what do you think?
Dragon Priest is more popular, so you don't have to worry about the double Entomb, double death.
So in competitive, Tyler, you think Dragon Priest will be just there for? I mean, do you think it's good enough to be top tier right now?
I think it's being pushed out by Reno Log. I think Reno Log is keeping everything in check right now, and you're just trying in competitive. You're just trying to play decks that beat Reno Log.
Yeah, which is
that's what a top there is right now. But also one other thing that I wanted to point out is it's insane to me how many archetypes Shaman has right now.
I know, but it's exactly. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy.
Just gained a few more.
Yeah, it's gained a few more, and this is not a knock against Shaman. This is just what the classes should be. Like it should be rich in tool sets and the ability to make it. And we have to change formats, guys, for Hearthstone competitive. Like we can't just not have the ability to have multiple decks from a certain class. Like it's driving me crazy. Like watching basically these type of decks be penalized for the shortcomings of the format itself. So instead of just having multi-class and that diversity, we need diversity within each class too, and that's really hurting Hearthstone and actually in general for me.
Well, I was worried about tri-class cards, right, because of that a little bit, which is you homogenize, Druid and Shaman. If they play all mid-range Jade Golem, you've kind of homogenized the whole thing. Fortunately for us, Rogue Jade Golem, Shaman Jade Golem. I mean, Shaman Jade Golem can be anything, but Druid Jade Golem, they're very different, right?
Yeah, they're very, very different, and they did a good job of that, designing it. Some of the classes are very removal heavy, right? More of a tempo flip, and the other one's very, very value heavy, right? And like with the Druid, so they did a really good job with that. And I'm glad it's not too powerful yet, at least, because it's it'd be super linear and easy to play, and like Cthulhu-ish in my opinion. I don't want it to go that route, and so far it hasn't.
I think Grimy Goons could have, right? If they had done Grimy Goons, like the Smuggler, the 3-mana neutral guy, the 2/4 that buffs one card in your hand with +1/+1.
Yeah.
If that guy had been a Paladin card that said everything in your hand, then suddenly you have like a nightmare on your hands.
Yeah.
That's when shit starts hitting the fan for that.
That's true. That's true.
And it's one of those things where they carefully chose what they wanted to give who, and. Hunters got heavy single target buffs, and Warriors got let's buff weapons and a bit of those taunt minions to give them an identity. But like they've approached the themes that they wanted to give very differently, to the point where a card like Cruelty Unshackled is just not played. Like it's just not playable even.
It's just not good. I mean, we talked about it, right? Like when you compare that card to Nzoth, or you compare it to other classes or other cards that have similar attributes, it's not even close. Like to the value, it's so situational too. You have to have those cards in hand. It doesn't generate new cards, right? Like Nzoth actually generates new cards. It's much worse. So unfortunately the Warlock didn't get that. I mean, can you imagine if Cruel was some kind of powerful legendary? Oh my god, that Reno Lock would be insane. Okay, well, I have a priest too, and I mean, actually, following up with what you said about shaman, Tyler, literally every archetype is represented by shaman right now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, maybe not combo, but you can Malagas combo too if you want, with shaman.
You
But
could, yeah.
yeah, literally
If you
every
want it,
single
yeah.
every single archetype is represented, and that's amazing. I mean, it's like totally awesome. Now, kind of coming into the priest, I think priest's tool set is catching up actually to shaman. Maybe the power level isn't quite there, but damn, when this is a Reno priest I've been playing, and I was winning like 75% last night with it because people don't expect like the Medivh aspect of it. So I was outvaluing Reno locks and stuff like that, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, so with the Reno priest, what's cool about the Reno priest versus the Reno lock is I feel like there are like 50 cards to choose from to put into a Reno priest. You can either go from the standpoint of a dragon angle or an OTK angle or just a straight value angle like mine is, or a Nzoth angle, which is mine's like a hybrid value Nzoth angle. There's so many things you can choose from that I don't know, my gut tells me that Reno Priest will be good, like will be the control deck eventually once people figure out just exactly the right, everything just totally refined and whatnot. Because the value, yeah, Jiraxis is amazing, but there are a lot of great things that you can fit into a Reno lock. Even Nzoth, right? And Nzoth in some ways could rival a Jiraxis play, at least for a few turns. But if you mix that with just some of the other, like Mind Control or some of the other priest very oriented cards, then I think you could beat a Reno just purely on value. And I don't know, something tells me that this priest with the tool sets it has will eventually be just tier 1. Not this one particularly, but
Yeah.
one eventually.
Yeah, I agree with that. The thing with Priest is Reno Priest has never been competitive, right? And
Yeah.
Reno Lock has been competitive for like forever, for
Right.
months.
So it's
So the list has
refined.
already been,
Right.
it's been refined, and the whole combo package with Leroy and everything, the list was already there. Expansion came, and you swap out a few cards and put the good cards in, and that's it. You have Reno Lock, and it's done. But Priest hasn't been figured out yet, and I think there's definitely some potential there.
Yeah, everybody's just going towards the dragons, and rightfully so, because the Draconid is really good, right? Just with the Discover, that card is so frustrating, man. They just pick, especially this deck, because it has so much value. It's like you're gonna get a good card, like guaranteed, right? But yeah, the dragon is the most obvious choice that everybody's going towards. But this is like playing this deck is so fun because it's like a mind fuck like every single turn. It's like literally, shit. Do I just take a shitload of damage, and then just like try to get it all back later, which is like a macro play, or do I invest onto the board knowing that they have board removal, and which minions am I able to get rid of and still be able to have a value at the end, and so it's extremely fun to play. Long games though, so if you like to play, like to ladder up quick, then don't play this deck because each game is like literally 20-30 minutes. But
Yeah,
it's
they're very, very long. And I think that's one of the reasons why the deck, like why Reno decks may not become quote unquote ladder meta ever. Is just they're very intricate, they're very long, drawn out games you're gonna be playing with it. And it's also so easy to make a mistake. Like
super
slip
easy.
up, rest in peace. Like your entire match is gone. You play the minute at the wrong time, you're dead. You played a Thought Steal too greedily, you're dead. You played an 8-drop where you should have just healed and played a 6, you're dead. Like everything kills you if you slip up once, which is one of the reasons I think that you tend to see less of it maybe than like the first day. I feel like everybody was trying out like Reno stuff, and now it's like, okay, let me not play that stuff. It's not right. It's too slow. I'm not enjoying it anymore already, and we're like a few days in. I like it, but
yeah, I've played a ton of it. I played all the different versions too. OTK is a lot of fun. Like the Beardo synergy is like a great.
Sure.
It's a great actually archetype. I mean, just design for a finish like that, but it's hard to stay alive. Like that's the biggest issue, right? So you have to heal a lot to even stay alive right now in the current meta, because the removal is just not there. Like I don't even have a dragon skin potion in this deck.
Yeah, you don't have Dragon Fire nor Justicar, which
Fire.
kind of surprises me.
Yeah, just because Justicar I don't actually need that much, but
Really?
Yeah, it's surprising, but I don't actually
Fascinating.
feel like I need it. I'd rather just get like minion value from it. But I might be overkill on the value, to be honest, because there's some games I
Yeah, you
finish with
are.
a lot of value. Yeah, yeah.
He's
But
super greedy.
yeah, so it can be
Like,
refined by a lot, exactly. But I don't die to shaman and warrior in a crazy amount either. I probably like 50%, maybe 45% against those. So it's
You should
not.
be higher than that as Reno Priest. You have a
Yeah.
good matchup against aggro. Like you're supposed to tear them up.
It's a rough
Tear them-
one though, but I mean it's a rough estimate as to what that is. I'm not keeping super track because I change it constantly too, right? So
Oh, sure. Yeah.
it's hard to tell, but yeah, I mean those cards I definitely consider. I just I don't know. I just have been playing around, but like I was saying, you can choose between all these different cards. Like Injured Blade Master, I don't even know if it should be in there either, but you know, there's so many tools to play with and try out that, you know, guys like Tyler for sure will figure out like perfect ones eventually. And when you have that much to play with, there's got to be something good in it, in my opinion at least. But play it, guys. If you guys, just for folks that haven't gotten a chance to play it, I mean, just a rundown. There's obviously 30 cards, but it's got Nzoth in it. Doesn't have like a ton of death rattle. It's really just like Sylvanas and like your shifting shades and just loot hordes and a few things like that. But it's got this one's got Medivh and mind control and stuff like that. That's just more gimmicky because people do play Ooze obviously right now.
I'll say one thing though about Reno Priest. That's one card that's undervalued. If you want to go greedy, right, is Youthful Brewmaster. Like you play Medivh in that deck. You play mind control. Brewmaster is like another brand.
It is, yeah, for
you want to win the
Kazakus.
control mirror, which if like against some decks, it can be really tough to win to get like double Reno, double Kazakus. If you think you're not gonna get there, Brewmaster is like the jankiest of all cards. But because it's Priest, you actually put it on the do I play this list? Like I wouldn't do that. I don't ask myself that question in any other deck. But because Priest has like 1,000 ways to build a deck, sometimes I wonder. It's super jank, but
Yeah, this particular one doesn't have enough battle cry, but you could definitely have enough battle cry for it to. I find myself just waiting on Bran like sometimes. Yeah, but yeah, definitely. You mean I could play museum? I had museum curator in here before too, which is like, oh my god.
That's value.
Yeah, I mean if I drop Medivh and all that stuff, you could probably put curator in here, but yeah, give it a try, man. It's definitely a lot of fun, for sure.
I actually haven't played any Priest yet since expansion. Maybe like 5 games.
Now that you've gotten like rank 1 in Europe, and then I'm sure it's gonna be rank 1 in NA and
It's just that
China too,
Priest was so overhyped. Like,
Yeah.
everyone was saying like Priest is gonna be the best, that I just kind of held back on it and just save it for later and just played other stuff first.
Yeah, now it's cool. Now it's hipster again to play Priest.
Dude, I played
That's why
my
I'm
first
playing
deck
it.
was like Coon Cthulhu Druid, where you just
I still haven't done that yet. I still
Brand
need to get to it.
Brewmaster a Cthulhu. I actually
Yeah.
have an interesting list right now, which I built. I played Coon and
Cthulhu,
Cthulhu.
that's disgusting.
I mean, I played that as Coon and Aviana just for the value that they provide, as opposed to playing it for the combo play. I'm like, yeah, let's go all in and draw all the cards. Just play them because at some point you get a 9-drop, a 10-drop, and whatever the hell's in your hand. Like you can go Aviana, Coon into Nourish, draw a bunch of dudes, play them. Like that's kind of Jade Idol-esque without being Jade Idol Druid.
I mean, it's your classic ramp dream, but the problem is staying alive until then, right? Like
It
that's
actually
why the
fits it
Cthulhu
really
works a little
well,
bit
but-
better.
But the funny thing is the Kun Druid decks, whichever build you do, it's not even a meme. It's actually viable.
It's
I
actually close to really good. It's
highly competitively viable, and
Mhm.
once the list gets refined, I think it could be a top tier deck.
I agree.
I think the Cthulhu one is a definite vibe. Like some people are playing the Malagus one right now, right? The one where you Starfire for 15 or something, and that sort
Yes.
of thing. But that requires like 7 cards. It requires like 6 or 7 cards for you to have at the very end. Where like a Cthulhu one is not, like that. I mean, that one really requires just 4 cards. Like,
And you play Disciple of Cthulhu and the Dark Hour Koa anyway, right?
Yeah.
So like they kind
Yeah.
of work in Druid.
they
anyway.
scale, they kind of scale up
Yeah.
with the game, whether it's against aggro or whatnot. So I feel like the Cthulhu one, at least so far, seems to be the best combo to finish with.
I've tried it, yeah, and I agree.
Yeah, it's cool. Everybody's coming out with different ways, man, to spend those 10 1-drop, turns.
Play all the Weasel Tunnelers.
I know.
Why? Well, because you can.
They fixed the Weasel Tunnelers. Dang it.
Oh, did they?
It was bugged for a while, but it was kind of funny being bugged, though. They were awesome videos that came out during that time. Totally. But anyways, we could sit here and talk like days about meta, but why don't we actually why don't we talk a little bit about we touched on a little bit, but Tyler, what's your most surprising card so far? Like for me it was Dirty Rat, right? But for you, what's the most surprising
for
card?
me, Dirty Rat as well. That was a sleep for me. I thought it wouldn't have that much impact, but Dirty Rat in Reno Mirrors, that's
Sick,
that's the most hated card ever.
It's sick.
And playing Dirty Rat into Doomsayer and then waiting for the RNG to see what you pull and then what your opponent pulls from his Dirty Rat. It's like Noxious said earlier. It can also be so triggering when Dirty Rat loses you the game, basically.
Yeah.
Bad pull.
All right, most disappointing card so far in your everybody's experiments right now, or maybe not disappointing, maybe that you were really wrong about.
Really wrong about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Greater Arcane Missiles because I thought the card would be literally the worst thing in the world, and it turned out to be actually pretty good when I played it. I wouldn't go like I said this card was complete trash and unplayable, and now it's the best. But it's like I went from this card is really, really bad to I might actually play that in my mage deck, and actually like consider it for real. One thing I want to try though is a Lotus Assassin. I haven't gotten to play Rogue with that 5-drop yet. Like I haven't even touched Rogue with that 5-drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't got a chance either to touch it. I'm trying to think of which one mine.
For me personally, the counterfeit coin.
I
thought it wouldn't be good enough, but it's seeing play right now.
Oh, you didn't think it'd be good enough.
I didn't think it'd be good enough, but it's seeing play in the Rogue decks right now.
Yeah.
And they're performing really well, actually.
Extra
and this
mana,
combination of the coin and that Rogue gets the pirate package that Rogue is only viable now.
Yeah.
Thank God. They have no healing still, which really hurts them, so they really need to get they need to be more aggressive than maybe they'd like, which is I mean, the position of Rogue is always to need to dictate the game. If they don't dictate the game, that they're going nowhere, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm trying to still think what would be the I think the Hunter cards, and I'm not sure if it's because the Hunter cards themselves or just because Hunter as a whole is just so bad.
As a whole.
But yeah, I don't think the Rat pack has been as big a impact. Also, I mean, Kodo's great, but I don't think the Kodo card has had that much of an impact either. So I thought those cards were great. I know, that's one thing. I'm not sure if it's actually because they're just not good or just because, the class itself as a whole is just too weak right now.
Yeah.
Could be some of that.
Here's the question, right? Like, here's the big question. All the weapon classes right now that are good are all running a patches list. And Hunter happens to not have that shit. Hence, they can't play. I'm gonna go there. Like, it's not. I don't think patches is broken. Like, as in, the card is single-handedly too OP. But the concept of what it does is so strong. Like, it feels insane not to try to include it in your list. And Hunter just has no real way to enable it. I don't have Nzoth's first mate. Warrior can cheat it out with Nzoth's first mate. Rogue has the dagger baseline. Paladin can play and has played Life's Justice just to meme people down in the aggro list. And now you have Hunters like, well, I have a 3-cost weapon. Does that do the trick? No, it fucking doesn't. So suddenly, the pirate package is not viable unless you curve much later. And so you're surrendering Beasts. And that's just silly. But Beast is just a tad too slow to where it feels like the Grimy Goons Paladin list. Like, across the board, the entire Hunter list that I've seen so far all feel like I'm playing the Grimy Goons list for Palia, which is I better curve flawlessly or I'm done. I'm just done.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Oh, actually, I know one. I mean, you were actually right about this, you and Zalay, which Mana Geode is just trash right now.
It is trash.
Yeah, it's definitely trash. I mean, Dirty Rat's so much better than Mana Geode. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, I don't see that card getting played. I was playing Divine Spirit just so I could get that thing to survive. Okay, that's the only reason I was playing Divine Spirit.
What a memer!
It was ridiculous, man.
You meme too much, dude.
Just a single one. It's actually not that bad, Divine Spirit by itself. But all right. Well, why don't we do some Mekkatorque Workshop? Just maybe some cards. Myself, actually, before we do that, why don't we give a shout out to our patrons and let me see. I'm gonna bring this up real quick. Of course, we've got a Patreon to support the show. Value Time is 100% supported by you guys, the fans and the Patreons, and we're lucky enough to have a lot of great Patreons still maintaining that level, that milestone that we to continue doing the show. So it's amazing and really feels great to have you guys supporting the show. But big thanks to our legendary producers Mike T and Lewis G. And as well as a few others: Eli B, K. Michael W, Esther C, Devin W, Thomas O, Jacob P, Albert, Graham S, Matthias S, Jason B, and Ed H. Thank you so much for doing that. And we of course still have our milestone, our smile segment milestone. So it's that time of the show, guys. Are you ready? Are you ready to give your best smile? Yes, he was warned.
I'm ready.
He was warned. All right. Here we go. All right. Starting now. Noxious' smile is too freaking good, dude. I don't know. Yeah. He's getting tired. Okay, I think that's where we end. When Noxious is getting tired from his fake smile. our real smile, sorry.
It wasn't a fake smile. It was the truest of all smiles.
Okay, the truest of all smiles
that's ever been seen.
That's right. That's for you guys, the patrons. Thank you so much again for supporting it. And if you guys,
a milestone for those of you who don't know what it is, but on Patreon, if we reached a certain milestone, we would then smile at the camera creepily for, well, this amount of time.
That was my highlight of the day. That was the best moment.
How did I know Tyler would just freaking love that part of the show? His favorite part. But we have another milestone that's,